Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 437. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com. And we're excited to have with us the acclaimed and internationally celebrated author of Opening to Divine Intervention, Karoleen Fober.
Hi, Barney. So happy to be here with you.
I know. So our listeners don't know this, but we've been actually talking for over 20 minutes, and I didn't even hit the record button, and we just had gold. We had conversation gold. So I have some great questions that I want to ask you, and I kind of like separate it out into kind of an introduction and a personal journey. Then we can talk a little bit about understanding divine energy, and then the ACUTE system that we can talk about some of your coaching that you do as well. Yeah, I think we'll just jump right into it, Karoleen, if that's all right with you.
Great.
So I want to really kind of focus a bit on your book that you came out with back in 2023, correct?
Yes.
Opening to Divine Intervention. So what inspired you to write Opening to Divine Intervention?
Well, 25 years ago, I had a divine reading. And I was told that I would be writing a book and it would be important for the world. And those were the exact words. And I was like, I think you're talking to this person. I had never thought I would write a book. But it caught my attention so much so that I didn't hear anything else the person said. I just wrote those words down, and it took me 18 years to actually even understand what I would be writing about.
And how did your background in education and finance kind of influence your spiritual coaching journey then?
Well, I think I am a teacher. I think that's kind of an innate thing. And so when it was time to go off to college, I entered, early childhood education. I was very interested in behavior and the development of a person. My mom worked in a bank since I was 2 years old. And I remember when the funding for preschool handicap program in the state of Iowa, actually the whole federal funding was just closed down. I talked to another teacher and she said, you know what? She said, you would be a great financial advisor. So, I think we all have human angels around us that see things in us that we have no idea. And I said, oh, okay. And so when the funding left for that job, my teaching job, I thought, well, that's weird. I didn't like the idea of not having, very little control over, my job. And so 2 years later, I made the decision to become a financial advisor. And I really loved it because it allowed for independence. You're creating your own business. You get to decide who you're going to work with. And I love teaching people how to get what they want. I was always a saver. I've been saving since I was probably 12 years old. So that came very natural. And but it also, I had the love of helping people. So whether it was teaching parents with preschool handicap kids or teaching financial planning and in investments, that sort of thing, it just all kind of flowed. I also see people and myself as what I believe we are. We're creative beings. And so I think that people have other desires. We talked about some of the things you've done and where this sounds interesting. Somebody says, hey, would you like to go do this? And you go, okay. And I think it's great if somebody wants to do something for 50 years. That's great too. But I'm somebody that I'm in the game of evolvement. I'm in the business of evolvement. And so I
Mm,
love creating new ways to do things better and easier.
right. Now, I want to kind of look at what your book is about too. So talking about divine energy and the acute system. Can you explain the acute system and what its significance is?
Yes, because I I was working with clients and helping them manifest. I was helping them develop their intuition and really understand that their beliefs held how they valued themselves and how they lived and worked in the world. And I began to see that whether I was working with financial advisors or even kids, it was really about understanding foundational living and what we believe. A thought is a thing. It has power, and so kids that maybe weren't talking at the right time developmentally, I didn't see that as a problem. I saw that as something to accelerate, and how could we solve this? So I've always looked at everything as kind of a puzzle. Let's see how we can create this. And I knew from very young age I was partnering with the greatest creator that created everything in the world. So I believe we're all co-creators
Mm,
with the divine head creator, let's call him it. And so that's the premise. And when I started really helping people more and more into the spiritual realm, where we really focused on manifesting, we really focused on getting their intuition where activated and open, I realized that I said, can I teach others? I wanted to, you know, I could help them double their income with their business. Could I help them really focus on manifesting? And so I just thought that would be unbelievable because that's the foundation. And so that's what I focused on. And then as I got older and focused more on the spiritual focus with people, um, I I thought if I'm going to teach this, I need to have some basics, and so I started writing down steps, and they became the five acute system, and the A stands for accept. Accept that you're a divine being, accept that we're in an electromagnetic divine energy system. I believe that was created divinely by God. And when you can accept something, um, it gets you closer to something. If you can accept that this is how something is, you can deal with it. You can maybe start opening and expanding it. The second step is the C, and claim it. So it's one thing to accept and understand that, okay, we can connect spiritually, but to claim it for yourself means, oh, I can do it too. And it's when that person claims it for themselves, it's like turning the switch on. The light
mm,
goes on. And then look out. And then that third step is you for utilization of all the tips, the tools, and the strategies that I have developed and other people have developed to make it easier and quicker. It takes 2 years for people to start driving a car in the US, and then it takes a couple years approximately to get that license. But to really learn to activate and develop our intuition, our manifesting skills, you know there's no class for that. There's very few.
mm,
We have we have shows and we have books about it, but it's still relatively new. And but it excites me because it's the foundation to do anything. So then the fourth step is T for trust. Acute. The T in acute is for trust, and you really have to realize that in this electromagnetic energetic system, divine system that we live in, we think we're going to do it all. Like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to make that divine intervention thing happen. No, we're partnering, but the spiritual realm is doing its thing. There's angels, there's guides, there's our loved ones' spirits. They're interacting with us. So the T is the trust to maybe ask for what you want, but the divine energy system is bringing it to you as long as you keep your energy into that positive space. And then E is to enjoy it, because we need to relax. We need to really, the more you're relaxed, the better for all your physical cells, the healthier you will be. And you will be that perfect little magnet to start manifesting, be that manifesting pro that you were born to be.
And so, what are the five? I'm sorry. What are the 15 types of divine intervention?
Well, and those are also in the book. And
Okay.
they are, well, I call them all kind of miracles, but I began to realize that, we have dreams, we have premonitions, we have divine energetic healing, um, meditation. So there's all these different ways. And I soon realized that all of these divine intervention things that were happening to me since I was a kid, um, they all were under the brushstroke of what I could call miracles, where it was something spiritual. It wasn't happening in the spiritual realm. I'm sorry, in the physical world. It was a spiritual thing happening because other people couldn't hear what I was hearing. Um, I was seeing, things that other people couldn't see. So that was definitely not what I would call a physical thing that we both could see. So, but I also realized that, let's say I was having a premonition where I was given something that I heard. Um, I also gave it a term, like it could be a divine pivotal moment. So it could be a premonition, but it might be the trajectory to change your world. Maybe your profession gets changed, or you suddenly um, have a new mission in life. So, divine pivotal moments, manifesting, praying, um, mediumship, divine journaling. And my favorite is really natural phenomena. And that is the one where the physical world um, gives you something that was meant for you. Like, well, when I was, working on trying to get my book figured out, and how do I write a book? Um, January 1st of 2018, I was awakened early in the morning and I said, oh, great, I get to see the sunset. So I went outside and started taking shots of the sunrise, and about 12 pictures, and it was beautiful. And I just thought, well, okay, the sun's up now. I'll just set the phone down. And I just kept looking around and enjoying myself. And I heard, keep taking photos. Well, by that time, I when I get a message, I follow it. So I picked it up and I took probably 20 more, but I couldn't see anything. I thought, well, what am I taking pictures of? But again, I didn't question. I trusted. I just snap, snap, snap. Then I put it down again. 5 seconds later, keep taking pictures. All right, fine. So I had 42 photos that day, and I didn't think anything about it. I'd been out there about an hour. By this time, I thought, I'm coming in to see if my husband's awake, and he was. And so I said, oh, honey, I took pictures of the, you know, sunrise. I went to get some coffee, and I came back, and he was looking at the pictures, and he had come to one photo. And I looked at it. And I didn't say anything because it shocked me. I saw my face in the sky, and I didn't know what to do. So I just said, oh, hey, can I just see that phone for a minute so I could see it closer? And there were two shots where my face is in the sky. And as we all know, if you look into the sky with clouds, they're moving all the time. So I got two shots of my face, and then I kept going, and I saw the word FOBER in the sky in little white cloudy capital letters. which is my last name, Fober, Fober. And then I kept going because remember the sky is changing, and I saw the word Stories, and I went
Huh.
stories, and then I kept going, and then I saw Short, and I knew that this was a beautiful divine gift to support and help me, and it's the one of my favorite examples of how much we're all loved. It was like, Karoleen, the sky's for you for this hour. This is for you. And I followed, and it was like, your book is going to be written in short stories. And it
Oh,
just
wow.
freed me up and relieved. And it was just such a beautiful experience. I call that natural phenomenon because it was the natural sky. But people will see like a heart in a coffee. They'll pick up a rock that maybe is a heart, and they'll just sense, oh my gosh, their dad had gone, and they know somehow it was a message from their dad. That's a sign. I remember would get dimes and nickels, and I always felt it was from my dad. You're walking around, and I read the story, and it was about how this person was finding quarters. And I said to my dad, Dad, these other people are getting quarters, and I'm getting dimes and nickels, because I was just having a fun conversation with my deceased dad. And that very day, I went on a long walk and I found a quarter. So I just, these examples, people have them all over the place every day, but they don't always connect them that, this is a message for you. This is a message of love. And it's really fun figuring it out. But that's one of my favorite stories of natural phenomena.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. So you kind of answered my next question, but I'm going to ask it because it kind of goes
Sure.
into my next one is, so how can other individuals begin to recognize divine messages in their own lives?
Exactly. And that's why I wrote the book. I started realizing that I had all of these examples, and I didn't think I had very many. I thought maybe 20. So I thought I better write these down. And in 20 minutes, I had 30. And over the next 2 weeks, I'd wake up and say, oh my gosh, I remember that. And I'd write it down. And so people forget. I forgot. And so I wrote the book almost like taking people on just my life's journey, but I asked them questions at the end of each chapter, like, have you had something like this? Kind of to jar that memory a little bit. So the book is helpful, but if you were to say, what were some of the amazing things that happened to you and just focus on it, you'd be surprised. And I always say, well, get a notebook, and I always say, date it and just write a few sentences. But I have documented over 450, and I stopped after about 6 years ago because I've so many. And they can be little things, and then they can be the huge things like your face in the sky.
Then what are some signs someone might be ignoring their intuition?
Well, if I ask somebody what are your top divine interventions, and they say, I've never had any, I said, it's just because, you're not putting it together. And so I say, have you ever said, what, that's a fluke, or this is a coincidence, or that was the craziest thing that ever happened, but you don't call it divine intervention. You just call it a fluke, a crazy thing that happened, or a coincidence. But pay attention to our words. Our culture gives the meaning of coincidence as like a fluke, but coincidence comes from coincide, which means to fit perfectly, come together perfectly. So I think we have to just wake up a little bit. And to me, this is the only game in town because it's so helpful. It can point you in the right direction. A book can fall off. Watch out for the books on your shelf. They can just pop out. It may be something that you've been thinking about, wondering about. And it's like, oh, and you don't even know till you get to chapter 5. And it's like, this book is talking to me. I needed this book. So I believe we have all these spiritual, beings, helpers. I believe everybody's born with, guides and uh, primary angels to help them. Um, and and then you have no idea what can be helping you. Um, they can be helpers. They can be, you can lose something. And if I've lost something, I basically go right away. I just start talking to my spiritual team and I say, okay, where are the top places? Where have I been? I start going like this. And then I use tools. Remember, we talked about the U and ACUTE. Utilize the tools. And a pendulum is a tool. It reads the energy. And so you can use it to kind of taper down how, is it this, is it that? And, the divine energy system doesn't lie. It's
Right.
very precise, it's precise. It's amazing.
How would you differentiate between someone's intuition and fear then?
Fear?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, fear is an emotion. It's something that we're human. And so if we don't know how something's going to go, or it frightens us and it triggers something that maybe we were scared of as a kid, it can it kind of stops you in your tracks. It kind of makes you stop flowing and relaxing. Suddenly now you're tense, you're fear, you're looking for what could happen to me. And I think I was scared of what some of these things were happening. I couldn't, in my earlier years, I wasn't always sure. But after a while, it became undeniable. And I realized that why would I be afraid of something that was so helpful? And so our intuition is, I believe it's our wisdom, and it's like the God within us. It's we're connected spiritually. We are spiritual beings, I believe, in a body on earth for a certain amount of time. And so, but we have two worlds. So we have the physical world, but we have our spiritual world. And I mean, a lot of people are skeptical and they'll say, I don't know. And I say, well, do you pray? Well, most people pray, not everybody, but most people pray. And I say, well, that's the foundational spiritual communication that we all learned by the time I was 2. I was praying every night, with my mom. And we were asking for things, we were blessing people, and I truly felt it. If I were really honest, I was happy to pray. So it's a feeling. And so fear is a feeling, love is a feeling. And they always say, well, the opposite of love is not hate, it's fear. And so I think everyone understands it. I've never had anybody say, I don't know what you're talking about, except a person from China, because they don't allow them to have religion, or God or anything like that. Their dictator is their God. But they were so fascinated when I was explaining how wonderful it was that they wanted it. They wanted it. So, I had an hour just sitting there meeting this person and sharing what I knew and at the time. And she was just so excited. She'd never heard of spirituality.
Let's talk about a little bit, like you brought up a little bit too, about like practical spiritual tools that you brought up.
Yeah.
So what daily practices do you recommend for our listeners' spiritual growth and awareness?
I encourage everybody to pray. To me, that's number one. I encourage everyone to meditate. And the reason why meditation is so important is because it quiets everything down. Unfortunately, a lot of people are addicted to noise. It's so loud. They've got, I mean, it's radio, it's TV, it's their phone. They can't be quiet. And so I really feel like if people tell me they're not as intuitive as they'd like to, I say, let's quiet things down. Let's start praying. Let's start meditating. And the meditation gets rid of the resistance, that negativity, that negative thought from our left brain, where we have to feel like we have to know everything. We have to understand everything. We have to control everything. Your right brain, which is your intuitive side, is the possibility. It's the spiritual connection. It's more about the creating. And so the whole idea is that most people are stuck 95% in their left brain, where everything is logical. And, you better prove this to me. Wow, what a tough route. And they're not having that much fun. And only 5% in their intuitive side of their right brain. That would be like, okay, you have two hands, but you better only use one. We have a left brain and a right brain, and they are designed to be balanced, where we utilize both together so that we create that connective tissue where they're supporting each other. Yet, that's the biggest problem. 95% of most people are in their left brain. And that keeps you stuck. That keeps you from noticing. And so you have to start focusing. The guy that I just talked from Germany, I gave him some homework. I love giving people homework if they want it. And he said, how can I expand? And I said, well, and he's a scientist, so he's really in the left brain. And I said, how about you schedule maybe every other day, because he's busy, like 30 minutes. And it's daydreaming for you, buddy. It's daydreaming. He goes, I mean, his face was so excited he couldn't believe it. And he was writing that down. And then we talked about Einstein and how Einstein, theory of relativity. Let's face it, this guy was, he was on it. And he talked about, there are so many quotes from Einstein on intuition. And this scientist from Germany I was talking to, that was his carrot. He goes, I want to be more like Einstein. I said, well, then you better start daydreaming. And he had so much fun. And he was a different person almost after we talked. And I could just tell that he was intent on, because he wanted to create, he wanted to invent. He knew he was out there to find new things and new discoveries. And we all are. We're here to evolve new. So daydream.
How can listeners connect with you for, say, coachings, readings, or to learn more about you?
Well, Opening to Divine Intervention is my book, and you can go to Amazon or my website to get that, and it's just a great reference. But you can also go to KaroleenFober.com, and I have a freebie for everybody to fill out just a 6-question intuition assessment. And you're going to learn a lot from that. And then I do coaching programs. I have an online intuition mastery program that's on my website too. And then I have a free discovery call. So if you want to talk to me about coaching and see which program is maybe the best for you, or just ask me questions, you can set that up.
Wow. Excellent. So KaroleenFober.com, and it'll be in the show notes. Listen, Karoleen, I still have like 30 more questions, but I know we're at our time now, but you come back on anytime. This has been fantastic.
Thank you. I will. I would love to share with your listeners my newest kind of compilation of how science and spirituality meet.
Oh, excellent. Okay, perfect. I'm trying to match the purple of your of your page. I think
Uh,
that's almost right, isn't it?
I actually
Is that
like it better because it really highlights the white.
right? Okay, I like it.
It's very
Okay,
readable.
all right,
Hmm. I love it.
perfect. Very good.
Wow.
See, nailed that. See, all right, good. Let me get the intro in, Karoleen, and then we're going to jump right into it. So,
Okay, which one are you going to use?
I wrote an intro. See, I got my
Oh,
own
that's even
intro.
better.
See,
I can't wait.
yeah, yeah. See,
I should have known at
you
this
should.
point.
Yeah.
At this point, I should have known better.
All right, here we go. All right.